Prime set the record straight about a lot of things. And they made the decision to turn the other cheek and not get petty like G. Bush could have gotten petty and pull receipts on all these Mary Kay Cabotts and all these Adam the Bull, all of y'all. See, I say names. So he could have pulled the receipts on a lot of y'all. But what we do have is we got ESPN Cleveland. You got a lot of local Cleveland media not trying to really give this interview the light of day, but you can't help it because it's viral. It's everywhere. And G. Bush is now, he's clearly the face of Cleveland media. And I think that's the best thing that's happened because any player from Odell Beckham to Baker Mayfield, etc., they've wanted nothing to do with y'all. And maybe with the new face in Cleveland media, like a G. Bush, maybe the relationships with actual players that come through will be better moving forward. And you finally have somebody pushing truth that's not relying on some backing from other people to where he has to lie and go with these imaginative stories, like the quarterbacks in 2030, stuff like that. We can actually talk real stuff. But there are some haters within the local media. And there's, weirdly enough, there are some independent creators on YouTube who are running around being jealous as well. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification and hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated as well. Now, obviously,
an absolute nuclear bomb just detonated inside the Cleveland sports media landscape. And the traditional corporate gatekeepers are currently undergoing an unprecedented psychological meltdown. Garrett Bush, a raw, independent grassroots voice, just sat down in a barbershop with Coach Prime Shedeur Sanders and delivered an interview so electric, so unapologetically honest, that it has completely set the internet ablaze. For years, the old guard media machine has operated under the comfortable delusion that they own the monopoly on team access and player narratives, but today, the mask slipped. While the video clocks millions of views across every single digital platform, the legacy talking heads are desperately trying to bury the footage, refusing to give the conversation a single shred of legitimate coverage. They are panicking because they realize the paradigm has permanently shifted. The era of athletes tolerating lazy, bad faith reporting is officially dead, and a new, independent face is running the city's sports conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because what went down behind the scenes of this interview exposes the sheer level of jealousy rotting out the mainstream media. To truly understand why the corporate offices are currently radiating pure, unadulterated panic, you have to look at the immediate, embarrassing reaction from the legacy sports networks. The moment the footage went viral, outlets like ESPN Cleveland didn't celebrate a massive milestone for a local program. Instead, they immediately launched into a petty coordinated campaign to twist a phenomenal piece of journalism into something negative. Out of all the deep analytical football nuggets dropped during that extensive conversation, the mainstream media chose to focus on one single isolated statement. Shedeur Sanders mentioned that he wants to sit down and have a meeting with the Browns' brilliant offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, explicitly stating he wants to talk to him as a coach and not as a dad. It was a mature, professional expression of respect between two elite football minds. But the old guard immediately ran to their microphones to transform that professional gesture into a toxic, manufactured soap opera. What they proceeded to broadcast can only be described as absolute nasty work. Pundits sat on national airwaves and delivered a wave of condescending critiques, claiming that Dion injecting himself into the facility would look like daddy caping for his son in the locker room. They argued that Todd Monken shouldn't waste his time, suggesting that an NFL locker room would view Shedeur as a political product who needs his father to fight his battles. It is an utterly laughable, bad faith distortion of reality. Are we seriously going to sit here and pretend that when Shedeur Sanders walks into an NFL facility, people see a fragile parent politic into playing time? This is prime time. This is a first-ballot Hall of Famer, a multi-time Super Bowl champion, and one of the most brilliant defensive savants to ever play the game. When a football mind of that magnitude offers to talk strategy and player mechanics, an elite offensive coordinator doesn't roll his eyes, he grabs a pen and a pad. But that wasn't the whole story, because the media's faux outrage directly contradicts the documented philosophy of the coaching staff itself. Todd Monken is on the public record stating that relationships and learning as much about his players through all available channels is the absolute foundation of his offensive construction. He wants the data, he wants the background, and he wants to know exactly what makes his quarterback tick. What better possible channel could exist than sitting down with a legendary head coach who spent years developing the specific, rapid processing traits that Shedeur puts on display every single weekend? The hypocrisy from the legacy networks is screaming through the screen. They didn't choose to make a segment about Shedeur's elite ability to dissect defensive coverages or his clinical pocket presence under duress. They chose a lazy clickbait narrative because they are terrified of a reality where Shedeur and the Sanders family completely succeed without needing the validation of the traditional media circle. This blatant corporate gatekeeping is precisely why this interview represents something so much bigger than just a single local podcast. This is a monumental, culture-shifting victory for the entire independent media movement on YouTube. For decades, traditional sports journalism has forced fans and athletes to endure flip-flop takes, sensationalized rumors, and imaginative stories constructed entirely for television ratings. If an athlete like Odell Beckham or Baker Mayfield came through the city, they wanted absolutely nothing to do with the local beat reporters, because they knew the coverage would inevitably twist their words into a disaster. But an independent creator who built his platform out of the mud, relying on nothing but pure footwork and a passion for the truth, just walked away with the biggest fish interview of the offseason. It proves that the future of storytelling belongs to the creators who actually respect the game, not the corporate mouthpieces who treat the players like commodities to be shredded for content. The definitive line in the sand has officially been drawn between the people who just talk about what they heard and the creators who actually put on their big girl panties and watch the damn film. If you tune into the legacy sports radio shows, you are listening to guys who openly admit they haven't cut the tape. They operate entirely on back-channel whispers and manufactured drama. Independent media is succeeding because creators are willing to go play for play, breaking down the technical geometry of an offense, and offering real, data-driven analysis that respects the intelligence of the viewer. That is why the audience is packing up and walking out the door on traditional broadcasts. They are tired of the lazy, repetitive scripts, and they are gravitating toward voices that provide an honest, unfiltered accounting of the sport. When you strip away the corporate spin, the off-camera reality of this interview is what should actually give the fanbase the most comfort moving forward. This wasn't a promotional stunt or a carefully managed PR exercise. Coach Prime is a straight talker who keeps it completely a buck with anyone who sits across from him. The real magic happened when the cameras weren't even rolling, where the conversation immediately shifted away from the media circus and focused entirely on the pure, unadulterated X's and O's of the game. They sat there for hours discussing the raw mechanics of the quarterback position, analyzing the specific areas where Shedeur needs to become reliably better, and projecting how Todd Monken's system can maximize his lethal accuracy. It was a meeting of football savants, completely independent of the toxic narratives being pushed by analysts who are just chasing clicks. The old guard has officially lost its grip on the steering wheel, and no amount of backtracking or corporate alignment is going to save their dying platform. The narrative is gone and the receipts are completely airtight. We are witnessing a fundamental, historic restructuring of how professional sports are covered. And the independent creators are the ones leading the charge. Shedeur Sanders is standing at the precipice of a defining NFL career, backed by a system that believes in his talent, and a grassroots media community that refuses to let his achievements be systematically minimized by biased journalism. The establishment can continue to pump the brakes and project their own anxieties all they want, but the momentum on the ground is moving way too fast to slow down. The truth always reveals itself on the turf. And when October arrives, the legacy media talking heads are going to have a very damn hard time explaining why their imaginative stories completely fell apart under the weight of reality.